What I think makes for a great book, part 4. I think this is part 4 anyway. I changed the order because I found this one really hard to write, so I'm kind of going to wing it. If we haven't met before, hi, I'm Christina Adams, the author of 21 books. I have a master's in creative writing and co-hosted the Writer's Mindset podcast for 2 years, and I ran a writing blog for almost a decade. Even though I've got a master's in creative writing, I was never really taught about plot, and I'll be honest, in those lessons I didn't pay a lot of attention. Why? I don't know. But to be honest, I don't feel like the psychology of why plot matters was gone into in enough depth. Actually, I studied plot more in screenwriting than I did in short story writing. Even though short stories are like, you don't have as much leeway. So it wasn't until I was working on my first book that I really decided to actively study plot. And so since then I've been on a journey to learn more about it, what makes it work, when it doesn't work, the reasons it does or doesn't work, the beats you have to hit, etc. And because of that, I've found that I'm a lot pickier with the books I read these days because some of them just fall kind of flat for me. The characters aren't pushed enough, they're not challenged enough, they don't grow. Maybe it's just me, it's not even a genre thing, although I do find romance doesn't push characters hard enough for me personally. Even though I love romance, it's one of my favourite genres, I find that indie authors do more with the genre, whereas traditional publishing generally plays it a lot safer. And Red, White and Royal Blue is a really good example for me because there's a big challenge at the end and it requires everyone's strength to fix it. So it leans into having different characters from different backgrounds with different interests, and those foundations were laid at the very start of the book. And then that makes the ending much more satisfying than something that hasn't necessarily been foreshadowed since the start, or that feels a bit out of nowhere, a bit rushed. And I think even when reading or writing something cozy, there still has to be some level of drama or conflict, or there's just not a story. Even if all they're arguing about is a cup of coffee, that's still conflict. It doesn't have to be super heavy, but story structure exists for a reason. And if you're breaking it, you have to understand why it's there and why it works or doesn't work, so that you can then adapt it. It's kind of like you take the engine out of a car, but then you don't know how to put it back in. So you just kind of have a car with an engine, but then it won't go anywhere because it's not attached to anything. So I'm kind of rambling at this point, but let me know what makes a plot work for you and what you think makes a really good story. I'd love to hear in the comments.